We're on.
All right, let's go ahead and call the O&P committee meeting to order on April 23rd, 2026 at 3:14 p.m., 14 minutes late because I don't know how to operate a calendar on Microsoft. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We've got public session up first. Anybody from the public that would like to say a word or two? Nope. All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Presentations. We got an update on current project. Mr. Eliezer, Mr. Lindsay, take them away.
All right, we'll be kind of quick with these. We have, as far as I know, they were supposed to complete the rehab project for the SCIP grant yesterday, correct? Now, we're waiting to get confirmation, but we were told that they were going to complete all the punch list items and be out of town by yesterday afternoon. So we're just going to assume that that one is finished. We have some remaining SCIP funds left. It's around, I don't know, $800,000 to $1 million, give or take. And we're looking to see if we can push another project through quickly, which is a manhole rehabilitation project on the trunk sewer that goes west out of the plant up Fort Walhalla with watertight rings and covers and rehabilitation of the interior. Exterior, was there exterior rehab of the manholes too?
That's just that.
So we will find out about that over the coming days.
Have you submitted that to RIA already?
We're working with them right now, and they've been aware of this for a number of months, actually. But
it's a similar project to what we used with the first round of SCIP funding, right?
it is. It is. Well, the first round didn't have, it had manhole rehabilitation. This one is strictly.
Well, it just
so
has
they were
to
able to
be
utilize the line item
perfect.
dollar.
Yeah, it just has to be a
amounts.
similar project
Yep.
to what the original SCIP funding was for. So that's good.
Yep, and our SCIP project, fortunately for us, was very vague because we did a pump station replacement, we did the rehab work, and we did, we're doing the project here on site with the dewatering. So they left it intentionally vague for us, so they were good with however we wanted to do it.
Perfect.
So that's all I have. Anything you want to mention, Kyle?
About the dewater.
Or clarifier 3 or anything.
Yeah,
anything
the
else?
clarifier, the equipment delivery has been delayed and pushed back, so it don't look like we will get the equipment in October.
How's that impact the installation contract we just?
So, well, that I don't think necessarily was affecting, because we just hired a contractor just to do the work. They had to redesign some things, and that pushed everything back more. So that's not going to happen now until October.
So what we may do is take the funds that we had allocated for that project, and instead of looking to move those as carry forward in the O&M budget, I may look at possibly just transferring that amount of money in a supplemental amendment and move that to the capital projects fund and just pay for it out of there next year as a budgeted item during FY 27, but again, out of the capital projects fund.
So you would basically remove it from this year's operating budget and put it in the capital projects account.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something I'm going to think about. It's either that or do it as carry forward from this budget year to next. So we'll see. We'll see what we do. We're going to talk about it and figure out what's going to be best. I don't know if we're going to have another installment payment on it, because I think we pay for the equipment over 4. It's 4, isn't it? Once upon the order, which has been paid, once upon the approval of the shop drawings, I believe, and then upon shipment, and then delivery is the 4th one. So we may have one more installment before the end of the year. So we'll wait and see how that goes. So that's all I have. If there's any questions about anything, I'll go ahead and try to answer those now.
Does anybody have any questions about the spreadsheet with the project update? Are they good? All right. Discussion item number 2. Priorities for operational and/or capital projects in the upcoming fiscal year 27 budget. Exhibit B with the priority group listing of the capital improvement plan.
We have a couple of high priority projects that we're focusing on with the budget for the coming year. The Speeds Creek force main replacement and then getting the treatment plant back up to the permitted capacity. The cost estimate for Speech Creek is one that we're not going to be able to fund in 1 year in its entirety, because it's estimated to be between, last I saw, $2.5 to $3 million. So what we're planning on doing is just the same thing I just spoke about with the possibility of the final clarifier, budgeting funds, transferring it to the capital fund, and let it sit there until we were able to accumulate the amount of funds to move forward with that project, which we're hoping possibly to do maybe in 2 years, year and a half or so. So we're looking at that. The treatment plant, I think we have most everything, Kyle, covered in there to get it back up and running. $500,000 to $750,000, I think, is our estimate to get most everything completed.
Yeah, most of the important is the aeration basin.
So those are the two priorities that we have. But I do want to mention here that, the consent order required us to address, wet weather, inflow infiltration, which is the development of the CMOM and the development of planned rotation of moving all of our SSES work throughout the system over a 10-year period. And we didn't budget any for this year because we moved, we funded a lot of it toward work we did at the plant to try to get that back up and going. And then we got hit with the unexpected, having to shift that money to do the clarifier replacement. So it's looking like next year we may not be able to fund CCTV work again, which, is a requirement that we do, but the requirement isn't so much that we do the finding of the problems. That's just part of the matter, is that we find it and fix it. But with the way that we were able to fund these projects, I think I mentioned a while ago that there was the rehab of the trunk sewer, the 36, the treatment plant's here. This line I have on the map here is most of it is 36. I think there might be one section of 30-inch reinforced concrete pipe. That cost estimate came back to be possibly as high as $8 million to rehab that line. So you can see we're in kind of a dilemma. So this was done 2 years ago. Is that right? 2 budget years ago. All of this that you see in this purplish pink color was CCTV last year. And again, we've got all the footage, we've got everything we need to go and design the project, but what good is it to design the project if we can't, all we do is take the plans and put them on the shelf. So, what we're, looking at, I guess, as we think forward, us as leaders within the organization and commissioners with administering budget and policy decisions, is to find ways to fund this. Now, of course, we'll look for grant opportunities and as we proceed, but that's kind of where we are. So those are, the two I mentioned early on, what we're kind of focusing on. But this is, speaking with you guys, is kind of your opportunity to let us know if there's any projects that you would like to see us push through in parallel with what we're talking about, or even in lieu of something, that may be important that we, consider.
Speech Creek design.
They're out there doing the survey currently. So that was budgeted for this year to do the preliminary design, survey work, and easement work. So they're out there working on that right now. We just had to wait to get the IDC contractor on board first.
They're looking at different routes, or you going to use the current route?
We're looking at a different route on this one, actually. The current route goes cross country along the creek through private property, and the bulk of this one, almost entirely, that we're looking at doing is rerouting it within the road right of way.
Okay, so coming up Campbell Bridge Road. Okay,
Yes, sir.
I've seen some stakes out there. I figured that's.
Yeah, that's what it is.
To reroute it, will it be more footage to lay your pipe and whatnot?
That I don't know the answer to right now. I think all we're doing right now is to make sure that it is something that is going to be buildable. And And then if it's determined to be buildable, then they would go ahead and recommend that we go in that direction. I think it would be best to do it that way so we don't have to traverse any private property because we'd have to acquire some easement back there. We currently have an easement, but we have to have it wider to be able, because we can't take that line out of service while the construction's taking place. We'd have to have a construction easement and an additional permanent easement of a certain width, not the full width that we would need because we'd be within some of our existing, but that's, another reason why we would like to get it out of that cross-country option.
So it follows your gravity line from Reedy Fork to Pump Station 7.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a targeted budget amount for capital projects for next year's operational budget?
We don't as of right now. We're, that's one reason why I asked about the board to provide me with direction as far as any type of a rate increase that would be considered for this coming year when we have the meeting in May. We have loaded it, of course, build the budget, we fill the bucket up to overflowing. Now we have to find out what we may be looking at for revenue and then start pulling stuff out of that bucket to make it where it's even with the projects that we have in there now. Currently, where we're working at is in the negative, which is what we are going to be doing every year until we find out what we're going to be expecting revenue-wise.
Do you have priorities?
We do. We have priorities on the sheet, the small sheet, but there's a larger one there as well. We've got priority groups, and they're on there, priority groups 1A, 1B, 2, 3, and 4.
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got priorities within the priority groups based on whether it's at the treatment plant or out in the collection system. So the ones that you see in green are the ones that we're looking at doing for the coming year. The ones that are shown in yellow are ones that we hope to be able to include in the coming year, but we're not sure if they're going to be able to be funded. So those would be the items that Kyle feels if we have to defer something, those would be some of the ones that we would cut. And what I've been doing too is keeping the sheet up. As you go down those columns on the far right, those 4 fiscal years, you can see where items that we've had planned or have been tasked with the 20-year master plan, where we've been deferring those, on occasion to the coming year, or where those monies have been going. So that's hopefully a kind of a good visual for you to work with. And you're more than welcome to take these large sheets with you, because that is difficult to see, that small one, I know.
Anybody have any guidance or input?
Yeah, Speech Creek was the one I was shooting for, so it sounds like you worked on that. So.
Yeah, that one is just too many problems. That's a consent order item that's been listed, repeated numerous breaks. I mean, how many? 15 or 20 in the last.
That's been ongoing for years.
We usually have 2 or 3 a year out there every year.
Wow. It's not Friday.
It's not Friday.
24 hours.
So any other guidance or anything you would like for us to consider that's either on this list or not on the list?
Until you get your rate fees worked out with all the cities, that'd be hard to kind of figure out.
So all the CCTV we have performed in the initial wake of the consent order, have all of those matters been repaired as you found them?
No, sir.
I mean, I know you mentioned the $8 million rehab of that line, but other than that one, what else do we have that was identified that we haven't repaired?
All of the green that you see here around the Westminster western portion of the system, that was addressed with the SCIP project. Okay. That was the very first round of CCTV we did back in 2023. The blue is, we thought the line was going to be in pretty good shape when it was TV'd, but it's coming back that it could, that's where I say that it could be up to $8 million, We just don't know. That's with a high level, non-engineered evaluation of it. I actually have another party currently that's looking at this, which is actually a rehab contractor, to kind of give us some feedback on what they think of it as well from outside of the engineering world to see what, how they interpret it. What you see here in purple is items that we have CCTV, and there's no design that's been done on that at all, as far as they've done a high level evaluation on it, but that's been pretty much the extent of where we are with it. Nothing detailed, nothing, I don't even, do we have a cost estimate for it? I don't even know for sure that we have that.
Are the majority of those you going to propose to be full line replacements? Or do we have, let me go ahead and just ask the question, is there a dollar amount we need to set aside to do repairs to at least cure some of the problems you've already found as part of the consent order?
The only item that we found that I can recall that is what I would consider to be a pressing item is a severely offset joint underneath Highway 123 that's near the 7-Eleven food line in that general area. But it just happens to be right up underneath the road, and I think it's within within encased pipe. But I think that's the most severe of what we've seen that is imminent. We need to take care of it, and that could be handled as a one-off project. The rest of it, is this side of the system is much newer, so we have a lot of PVC over that way, which is kind of good for us because you typically aren't going to have the issues that we're going to have like what we have over this way with that vitrified clay pipe or this reinforced concrete pipe with worn out joints. But it's just kind of a matter of waiting and seeing how what we need to do with it to move forward. And we can take and put a bunch of put $250,000 out there again into doing CCTV and cleaning the lines. But I just hate to put a bunch of paper on the shelves with design of something we can't move forward with, and while the infrastructure continues
That's right.
to age.
By the time we get the money, it's time to CCTV cleaning.
Yeah. So that's kind of where the
So we've exceeded our low-hanging fruit with repairs as a result of your consent order research.
Well, we haven't even looked at anything up here yet. I mean, we've looked at maybe 25% of the system, I would guess. But as far as the funding, I think we funded what we can with the low-hanging fruit, which has been primarily skip.
So putting in $500,000 for continued repairs doesn't do you any good.
I think it would help it to do some of these point repairs. Now, the point repairs would be something where, if we have a cracked line or we need even something like a manhole or manhole replacement of a smaller diameter pipe, we could fit that into the budget and do those as one-off projects, or package these up collectively and have, give them a contractor to do 6 or 8 or 10 of them. But just in my mind right now, without going and taking a look at the sheet, I don't know how many of those that we would have, but that would be a way to maybe expedite some of those projects that would have to be done before they could go and be relined anyways, because I think most all of them have been recommended for other than a few point repairs, possibly all with trenchless repair technology, with the relining the pipe. Mm-hmm. And that's where the $500,000 just won't, you just wouldn't get too many rehab contractors going to be able to come in for a $500,000 project to do relining. You have anything else?
Okay, any other discussion? So Speeds Creek, obviously, is one, but he's not telling that exactly know if we can put $2.7 million or whatever it is into the budget this year. So
Well, and we figured that wasn't going to be the case. It was that we're going to try to get, $500,000 to $1 million this year, move it over, and then do the same for the following year and move it over, and then be able to utilize the funds that we have in CIP or the CI fund now to possibly look at doing it. And it may be that we do it in phases too. Although I don't know how we would do a phased project with it changing the route.
Yeah, changing them out would make it challenging.
All right, we ready to move on then?
Yes, sir.
All right, action items. Proposed updates to the sewer use regulation. Ms. McCullough. Is that you?
Apparently.
Well, you're listed here, so,
So I asked.
or Chris, why don't you rescue her?
Well, I asked Allison just to come in here and give a high-level overview of why we have to go through the regulation revision on a periodic basis. And then after she touches on that, then I'll mention kind of what the steps are and how the process would work logistically.
Yeah, every time we get a new NPDES permit, it requires us to go do a pre-treatment program update. In that pre-treatment program update, we'll do review of the sewer use reg to see if any state or federal regulations have changed, and that way our sewer use regulation is always up to date. And there may be some enforcement actions that other cities have had to deal with, and like our consultant, they know how to make our sewer use reg stronger to so that we can handle those cases. This year we added quaternary ammonium, PFAS, the contaminants of concern and everything. And it also gives us the opportunity to change some things that may need updating. Like we did a few changes in the fog section. So we didn't make that many changes, but it's just a requirement for us to go through that for the pre-treatment.
Yeah, it's one of those things that if we have to open it up to make a change, it'd have to go down to DES for them to spend several months reviewing it and approving it before it goes for consideration by the board. May as well just open it up and kind of revisit it. So what we have done with the FOG program being, with us still, I would say is somewhat still in its infancy stage, because we did the regulation a few years ago, brought Dalton on board, and then I think everyone knew that based on feedback we received from the public, we made some small amendments to it then. Well, now here we are now, and we realize that there's parts of our regulation that we feel have been overly strict, I think, and thus we lack some flexibility to be able to work with some others without granting them a variance to meet certain applications that they're looking at. So now we're kind of looking, to tighten everything up to make it more flexible for us so that we have more options and the folks in the field have more options as well when they're looking at design or replacement or maintaining their system. So I think that really was the biggest part of it, was trying to, create a little bit more wiggle room for us and for the regulated public with the FOG portion of it, that the others was, part of the mandated requirement that we had. So with that said, Allison has been the one heavily involved with this, her and Dalton with the FOG thing, and then Allison and our consultant with the regulatory side of it, with permitting. So, of course, we would recommend that we move forward with it, but the way this process works today is that we, as a committee, would vote to approve this to go before the full board for consideration. That consideration that would be asked for by the full board isn't to implement it or put it on public notice. That would be just to take it and forward it as stated, as written today, and forward it down to DES for them to begin their review. And again, once it gets to them, it's kind of out of our control as far as how long things take to get back. When we do get it back from them, it would then, if there's any changes that would be made, and I should also add that Lawrence and Michael Trainum both have reviewed this and approved it as the copies that you have today show. but then it would go, board would approve for it to go before a public notice period, then we receive comments and vote to implement it later on. So that's what we're asking for today, is approval to go before the board to then take it to submit to DES.
What say you?
I make a motion that we take this before the full board. Let them.
I'll second that.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any other input? Lawrence, you got anything you need to add to it?
No, it makes sense to me, guys.
Okay. All right, hearing none. No further discussion. All in favor by way of aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise? Hearing no opposition, motion carries. It's being remitted to the full board for consideration. All right, Mr. Eliezer, I'm not going to list off 1 through 5. Why don't you just roll with it?
Well, if I may here, because I know Lawrence has mentioned in the call initially that he had a hard
Time
4
constraint?
o'clock
Okay.
stop. So
Do we hear a motion? We go into executive session to discuss negotiations, incident, and contractual arrangements, and receive legal advice.
I make a motion, we go into executive session and discuss what you just.
State
I'll
what I just read.
I just was second. what you
Motion and a
just said.
second. It sounded so eloquent, didn't it? Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, by way of aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise? All right, we are now in executive session.
Okay, hold on a minute. Okay, we're back.
All right, housekeeping items. We are now out of executive session. David made the motion. Scott made the second. It was unanimous. Obviously, no action was taken in executive session. We merely did receive an update from our attorney on the item as listed on the on the agenda. But again, no action was taken. We would just received information. So that takes care of that item. We'll wait until David returns to make sure he doesn't miss anything, and then we'll move into item E with your report.
Oh,
I want to swipe that thing every time I see it. Makes me think of a little caterpillar or something.
Yeah.
Be a big cat.
Almost like a squirrel tail. Isn't it?
All right. Well, let's move on to item E. Mr. Eliezer, your discussion and compliance matters report, please.
The only item I have for regarding environmental regulatory is we are coming up upon our due date for the biannual, I think it's called the biannual compliance or consent order report that goes to SCDES. So whenever the cities, I guess we don't have anyone from Wahala present here today, but if you can, I guess, Mr. Representative from Wahala, just relay to them, just remind them that they have a report that's due to Allison, I believe it's on the 30th of the month, and that'll just be submitted to her by email.
And what's that called again?
It's called the
Will they know what I'm talking about if I send them?
corrective action plan update.
Okay,
User rates, that should be, I'm past this out, I believe, for the meeting. Do you have a copy of that? This is what we'll discuss at the board meeting on the 4th of May. Just wanted you to have an updated copy of it. I know that I presented a copy at the last board meeting. I had received updated information from, I think, was it Wahala? I believe it was Wahala I was waiting to get the final information for. So now this has all of the information for all the parties for the 12-month period that we, used as a basis for determining what those revenues would be based on the number of users and types of users.
Do you want any discussion from us as a committee on?
Sure.
I mean,
Sure.
you
If you,
just want to wait till it gets to the full board.
no, please go ahead.
Does anybody have anything that they want to go ahead and add and present to Chris as far as what your feelings are with regards to what you feel like you could conceivably support as an increase? I myself, I'll go ahead and start it then, would prefer that we stick with volumetric fees only category instead of doing both or just the base. So I certainly would prefer to stay in that grouping. Recognizing the future needs, really current and future needs of this organization. What did we do last year, Chris? I can't remember. Was it 10?
I think it was for some reason, I think it was 5% last year.
That's kind of where my thought was again this year was another 5%. As far as what I felt like we could certainly support. I could support from a vote standpoint, but again, I'll certainly open that up for any other discussion.
Scott, do you get a bunch of feedback from customers about the rates there in Cincinnati?
I don't so much as our customer
I
service
think they're
folks.
fair. I mean, I'm on your water. Of course, I've got a septic tank, but I think they're fair rates. I wouldn't. I mean, I could stand another 5%.
You're always going to get concern presented about the cost of utilities. So, I mean, those are consistent, and I don't want to call them complaints, I don't call them concerns, consistent feedback. They feel like they're too high. But we have seen some significant increases in the sewer authority side over the last 5-6 years. So we do hear a little bit of it, but I wouldn't say it's the majority of our customer base. But certainly we got to be conscious of the work that needs to be done here, and the consent order we're under, and the projects that are required. So we don't have any kind of dedicated rate for capital projects, do we? We merely just try to carve out what we can. I mean, that's one thing I'd like to possibly see as a double, not a double rate, but an additional rate for capital project support, in which we, instead of just increasing the operational budget by 5%, still trying to just fit in what we can. I'd love to see us say, okay, our volumetric rates are going to stay at $38.30 for the operations, and then set up a $1.42, and I'm reading off of his sheet, a $1.42 per gallon rate to be used toward capital projects.
That's 5%. Right?
Yeah, that's just the 5% number. I mean, I'm just using that as an example since I mentioned 5% earlier. I mean, it would really be nice to start annually contributing to that capital project fund using a rate structure instead of we'll just pull it out of the operational budget and try and put what we can for Speeds Creek in there over the next few years. That gives you better planning from a capital project standpoint. And I don't know if all of a sudden you take your operational budget down to $28.30 and now your capital is, $11.42. So that just, I mean, I would like to see that type of rate structure where you have dedicated capital project funding being put every year into a capital projects account that provides better planning opportunity for you to recommend projects off your priority list.
How would you do that? Would it be another line item on the water bill?
I think you develop your budget that way, but the water bill would still just have one line item.
Okay.
I think this is more for planning purposes for us.
Got it. Yeah.
And you basically would have a capital projects budget that goes along with your operational budget. You pull all your capital items out now and put it on your capital projects, and then have the dedicated funding source going to that. I think it's just better and more clear for you. And part of my concern is right now with the consent order, with the condition of the plant, with the capacity, we got capital needs.
We do.
Yeah.
Way more than we have operational needs. So let's start spotlighting that, and as we point to those capital needs, we can then increase our rates there more so on the operational side and say, hey, we get it, we're going up on our rates. This is why. It's not just because we're throwing it into our operational budget. It's dedicated fully to making the repairs that are needed. To me, it tells a better story. It's more transparent. And like I said, for Chris, I think it gives you more of a dedicated funding source that you can plan better.
Yes, sir.
So,
I like it.
This is a good conversation to have with the commissioners. I really think this is a good conversation.
and again, we can still just have one rate on the bill. You
Mhm.
can still just charge the cities, whoever you're charging.
Yeah,
One
that's-
rate,
Yeah, that's-
But for our planning
Conversation.
purposes in the budget, it's like us, cities have multiple funds, right? You got the general fund and special revenue funds and accommodations. I mean, you have all these different funds. We basically creating a fund, capital projects fund budget that goes along with this capital projects account. So
Well, it's like
just
your own personal home budget. I mean, you've got to put money aside to repair stuff.
Mhm.
it's a thought.
That's good. I think it's a good thought. I definitely think that's a good idea. I do.
And I guess really we need to kind of get the feedback from the rest of the commissioners, the board members, to know really what we're going to be able to stomach on a rate increase. If they like that approach, then we got to decide, okay, do we want to increase it 5% and have it all go to capital projects, or have some, I think that we probably need to have that discussion too.
That's good.
All right. Everybody good with that?
Yep.
Chris, you okay with that?
I'm fine with that. I'm great with that, actually.
Okay.
System expansion cost analysis for our annual revisiting of fees that we do about this time each year. Weston and Sampson will be presenting an update on those system expansion costs that we derive the impact fees typically from. That'll be presented at the May 4th meeting. compensation benefits, same thing. If you can remember, we had that discussion, and Carrie Kavanaugh with Find Great People will be here, and she'll be presenting her update to the comp and benefits study that she has performed. Let's see here if there's anything else about that. I think that's about it. I don't have any miscellaneous items, so
Compensation and benefit?
compensation and benefits.
Yeah, you said you don't have any miscellaneous, but you got an item 4 that says compensation and benefits analysis.
That's the one Carrie Kavanaugh.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right, sorry.
I should have clarified. She's the one that has done the studies in the past and has been tasked with performing it again.
I kind of combined those two and
That's all right. And nothing miscellaneous. I appreciate it.
All right, if my check marks are correct, we will have exhausted all of the agenda items other than the committee member discussion. Is that correct? All right, good. Item G, is there any other items from the committee members they'd like to bring for discussion?
I'm good.
Scotty, you good? Good. Chris, we're here. Anything else?
No, sir. I think everything's
All right.
great.
Well,
And I will say, the plant, talking about the plant is really in the best shape it's been in my time here. I mean,
thank you, Kyle.
yeah, thank you, him. But, not just, Steve Hunt did a great job with it. Steve did a great job, I think, with when he was here of keeping things going. Whereas Kyle has been able to have opportunities to take funds and invest in replacing and updating the equipment. Where we had a pump or motor that was completely physically missing, has been working and prioritizing. So it's been a lot of prioritizing of work internally to fund that over the 5 or so years that he's been here. So, it's been a work in progress. The safety items, you hear me talk about that pretty regularly. So the plant, though, it is, I think, if we can somehow do it and get that taken care of next year, I think that will really take care of us for a while till we can get back into strictly, with the plant here, typical or routine replacement of equipment, but also implement
planned
fully
maintenance.
preventive
PM,
maintenance.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, and so we're, we are there now.
And if this CMMS is what you say it is, it's really gonna help you guys with that kind of stuff. I
It
mean,
will.
a computerized
Absolutely.
management system, in my day, they kept the customer happy. You're running their plants.
Absolutely.
You knew when a motor was gonna fail, you knew when a valve was gonna fail, you had an idea based on history, so. As long as you put good input in, you'll get good output out, right?
All right. Well, hearing no other discussion, do we hear a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
All right.